Welcome, blessings. The clip you're about to watch is an excerpt from my recent Return of the Priestess series. This year was a little different than other years. It was a journey of 3 days of deep dive into different topics. Now, before we get into the clip itself, I just wanted to quickly share with you an opportunity and an invitation for those who resonate. We are living in such extraordinary times right now, and I know, and you may resonate and feel this as well. There are many who feel the quickening and feel called to step into their spiritual gifts in a more powerful, more accelerated, more extended way. And right now, up until the 19th of June, 2023, the doors are open for my 13 Moon Priestess Training and Initiation program called Mother Spirit. This is a very deep dive, small group, immersive, intimate experience of sisterhood. It's for women who are on the path of sacred feminine leadership. Whether you are experienced or new to the path doesn't matter as much as your devotion to being a blessing in this world, to being the love you wish to see in this world, and to cultivating your sacred gifts, whether that be healing tools and more modalities, or simply the capacity to hold a frequency of love during times of accelerated chaos and stress, to bring those to the next level and to do it in a container of sisterhood. Recently I hosted a retreat with there were 9 sisters, and one of the sort of prophetic things that emerged from my mouth was to feel safe in sisterhood is a sacred blessing indeed. And that is the quality and nature of Mother Spirit. Again, this is a small group container for women who feel the call to their sacred ministries, their sacred leadership in some way, shape, or form. So if you are interested, you can find the link below. I will tell it to you here right now. It is returnofthepriestess.com/Mother Spirit. This is a course of study, a journey, a deep dive experience that is by application and interview. So you can rest assured you will be in a very safe container if this is something you feel to join. So again, Mother Spirit, 13 Moon Priestess Training and Initiation. You can go to returnofthepriestess.com/Mother Spirit. Check the link below. And now please enjoy this excerpt from this year's Return of the Priestess series. Thank you so much. And I really want to acknowledge the power, the amplifying power of this gathering and any gatherings where we come together in the name of love, in the name of, in this case, sanctuary, for a high holy purpose. And so recognizing that, really receive what you are doing here, what we are doing here together, which is we are being a blessing for the world by finding sanctuary and offering sanctuary to ourselves and to each other. For it is in our love and our light, our ability, our capacity to, as our theme for today is, maintain inner peacefulness during this time when the ascension energies are quickening, that will bless and serve all of life. So just be with that for a moment, recognizing the value of your presence here on this call and your presence on the planet, that you, for whatever your human foibles, we all have them, warts and all, you have come to a place in your life where you have chosen to be a blessing, to be a light, to be more forgiving, more patient, more kind, more comforting, whatever it is, more tolerant, more clear, more empowered, more sovereign. And any and all of these are ways in which you emanate into the field those energies. Again, warts and all, right? We're human. We make our mistakes. We're waking up at this time of greater light on the planet, and we are coming into attunement with the higher frequencies of love and light that are available to us now. And as we do that, we find that we can receive more blessings and be more of a blessing. So, the question that arose for me is, when all of this sort of unfolded at how to do Return of the Priestess IV and Sanctuary of the Feminine is, how do we become our own sanctuary? How do we become our own sanctuary? Because it is a blessing to be in sacred space with other sisters and or brothers, depending on the work we do. It is a blessing beyond words to be in sacred space where we feel safe with others. Or as I said, at the retreat that just concluded here, we had a priestess leadership retreat here. To be safe in sisterhood is a great blessing indeed, especially after, 5,000 years of, stress and negativity toward the feminine. So how do we become a sanctuary for ourselves? And perhaps that leads to the question of, what is sanctuary? So I looked it up, and the first definition is a place of refuge and protection. So again, we are creating sanctuary here as a place of respite from a time of accelerated change on the planet and the tumult that comes with that may be in your life a lot or not very much in your life, depending on your path right now. And it is good to have this. It is good to have this sistership. It is a blessing after all the many ways that dominator culture has divided us. And we will all walk back into our lives after today's gathering and after this concludes. So really, the goal here is for us to find within ourselves our own sanctuary. So with that, I knowing kind of the process of awakening a little bit anyway, from my own experience and from my teachers, both teachers on the planet and master teachers in the non-physical, and many other sisters and brothers who are taking this journey of awakening. In order to really awaken, one of the things that we have to do is be willing to look at the places that we don't want to look. And while this journey today and these 3 days is not a workshop on shadow work, I feel I would be remiss if I didn't invite some questions for our reflection, not to get you to rebuke yourself or us to rebuke ourselves, but rather to be willing to lovingly accept ourselves, warts and all. So if you're the type that likes to write and journal, this would be the time to take out your journal, because I want to open now with an invitation for reflection. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to post these questions in the chat. So I'm just highlighting them now. But I'm going to speak them aloud for your consideration. And of course, also for those who will listen to the recording. Oh, the bullet points don't translate, but you can copy and paste these too if you'd like into a document. Okay, so let me have a little sip here, and then I'm going to read these. And if you don't want to journal, that's fine. You can just close your eyes and receive these and tune into the impressions that arise for you. I want to invite you to reflect upon your life path. And I realize that will take a lot longer than our time now, but just let impressions arise. The life you've lived in this incarnation up till now, your soul's journey beyond this incarnation, the themes that maybe keep repeating in this life are often a clue about themes that your soul has journeyed through that you want to resolve in this lifetime. And any of you who've worked with me and as an evolutionary astrologer, you know that's a lot of what we look at. And then just kind of getting a broad stroke impression of some of the themes of your life, whatever that is. Like for me, Italian American, East Coast, oldest sibling of 2 kids, adopted, single mom as a teenager, called to the goddess by the time I was 19 years old, and on, just those little highlights, right? And my soul's journey, all I've learned about my soul in the years of my spiritual inner work. And now bring that to the last 3+ years, when the Great Awakening really started to unfold itself in earnest. For those of us who are on this path, who are gathered here, and many others around the planet, millions of us. And what you've been walking through these last 3 years. Many of us have faced challenges, other of us not so much. Many of us have had great blessings, others of us not so much. So without judgment, just we're bringing up to our consciousness the things that we need to love up in frequency, individually and collectively. We don't have to share our private stuff with each other unless you feel called to do so. But it's about bringing it up now, that this collective container, this collective sanctuary, can love up anything that needs to be loved up and honor those things that perhaps were blessings, and sometimes blessings in disguises. So we're opening into this space today in a heartfelt way in order to presence with ourselves during such a challenging and auspicious time on earth. And so as we bring up lovingly whatever we've walked through in our lives personally in these last 3 years, I want to ask you some questions now for reflection. The first question, it's again, broad strokes. So we're not asking for left brain analysis. We're asking for intuitive right brain impressions. What tends to disrupt your peacefulness? Just allow anything that comes up. What common themes or common threads have run through your life which disrupt or disturb your peacefulness? Remember, our theme today is maintaining peacefulness. And so we have to look at where our triggers are so that we can love them. And how have you navigated these times where you get triggered, where peacefulness is disrupted? What spiritual or emotional tools have you developed, have you applied to help you with disruption of peacefulness? Or perhaps, how has the disruption of your peacefulness, the triggers, the annoyances, the distress, the family trauma, brought you into a healing modality, a spiritual tool, an emotional tool that is now in your medicine bundle to be in service to you and others? And can you recognize the way it may have been a backhanded blessing, but the challenge or challenges or disruptions of your peacefulness or triggers may have offered you the very thing you needed to cultivate a new tool, a new emotional strength, a new level of spiritual connection with our Creator? So just breathe into that for a moment. And how have you judged yourself for the ways you've handled things when you did not feel peaceful? Have you been really hard on yourself? I know I have, way too many times. In fact, yesterday I spilled something and then I was hard on myself about it. I was like, well, wait a minute. Why am I defaulting to this? And then I loved myself for defaulting, and I loved myself for judging myself for defaulting it. This is really, it's almost like we're learning to walk again. We're healing these old conditioning programmings about, whatever it is, needing to be perfect, needing to be right, needing to be more forgiving, be more loving, whatever it is. But just being aware, have I judged myself? Do I tend to judge myself? Am I willing to be open to forgiving and accepting myself anyway? So just feel that. Am I willing and open to be forgiving of myself anyway? And is it possible to see that every choice you have ever made was a chance to learn, to grow, to heal, to up-level yourself, even if that choice looked like a big mistake, a big error, something incorrect, or even a small error? Is it possible for you to actually open in your heart space to a new way of acceptance for yourself, for the choices you've made up till now? Because as long as we keep judging ourselves, we're literally like dragging around a bag of rocks. And every time someone triggers us because they say, hey, you look kind of dumb dragging around that bag of rocks, we get triggered and then we'll judge them as well. I hope this metaphor is landing for you. So my invitation is for us to let these things bubble up now as we enter into this space today, and to write them down if it feels aligned, or to reflect on these after our call, or perhaps in the morning. I know my sacred journaling time is in the morning. So let them bubble. Notice what dreams you have tonight, because we are really amplifying our power to release the things that disturb our peacefulness. So we are in sanctuary here together, a respite from our lives, from the tumult, from the mundanity of it. I don't know if that's a word. And we are also cultivating the power within ourselves to walk away from this, to walk into our lives, our mundane lives, our interesting lives, our dull lives, our challenging lives, and being the sanctuary for ourselves first, that we may be a sanctuary for others if and when needed, in a healthy way, not a codependent way. Okay, so reflect and allow yourself to bring forward that which wants resolution now, so that indeed you can be your own sanctuary. So over the course of this journey together, these next 3 days, let that stuff come forward. And if it's uncomfortable, if it's painful, write it down. No one has to know it but you. Express it, dance it out, cry if you need to, but witness it, be with it. Not because we're going to hold on to it, but because in order to set it free, to set ourselves free, we have to know what it is first. Okay, this will let you maintain states of peacefulness as we continue our planetary ascension journey. So let's just take a pause and a breath right now. I know I like to dive in quickly and deeply, but we're going to actually shift gears for a moment and lighten it up a little bit for a moment. And then there's a little more I have to share before I go into the channeling. So just take a moment. Again, I'm going to have a little sip of my tea. Coat my throat. Okay, so I'm just going to, actually, I just want to check in here because I have my notes. Some of it I'm looking at, some of it I'm not. I'm seeing people are still coming into the room. So welcome to all of you who have joined us since I began, and welcome to you. So before we dive deeper, I just want to offer a few minutes here to tell you about myself for the sisters here who are not familiar with my work. So I beg your patience for those of you, and I do see many familiar faces who know my story. I want to touch on a few things so that you know what qualifies me to be here speaking to you, sharing this with you. So I've been on a priestess path since 1984, when I had my son at home with midwives in a state where it was illegal. And a group of us got together to begin a mother's support group. We were all home birth mamas. Some were still with child and others had given birth already. And we thought we were going to get together to talk about things that new mamas talk about, diaper rash. And we were natural mamas. So it would be like, natural remedies for things. Teething, breastfeeding, the things that new mamas talk about. And colic, all that stuff. And what happened is, in less than a year, one of the sisters brought a tarot deck called the Mother Peace Tarot Deck. and the book that accompanied it, which is called Mother Peace, A Way to the Goddess Through Myth, Art, and Tarot, which is a very comprehensive book on ancient goddesses from around the world. And this was the beginning of our journey to what became a priestess circle named Mother Spirit. And the 6 of us journeyed together for several years, and then different things happened. Some moved away, and we went on, and I, after that, formed several different women's circles over time. And that's very briefly how my journey began. From there, many, many things. I became a tarot expert. I have studied astrology for years, certified in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy, a lot of internal work and healing and shadow work. And then A Course in Miracles came into my life, and the original teachings of Jesus through that, and the practice of forgiveness. And if any one thing accelerated my growth to prepare me to be a sacred feminine leader in these times, it was all of that and the Course in Miracles, because I had to do my own forgiveness work sufficiently. It's not a completed project, but sufficiently to be clear enough to be a conduit for the loving energies of the higher dimensional beings. So there's been so much growth and healing that has come from being in sacred space with sisters as well. And that's the other piece of this for me, on and off over many years. And so that's a little bit about my background. Some of you may know I also took a 12-year journey into the warrior energies, and I was a professional kickboxer and a coach, and really completed some incarnational karma stuff around warrior energy. So that was a piece as well, but that was a long time ago now. So that's just a little about me. The main thing I kind of want to bring home here is that it became clear to me that my part in this ascension is to support sisters as they rise as sacred feminine leaders. So all of the things, including the training in the martial arts, owning a kickboxing gym, being a leader in that sort of real masculine way, and helping women to step into the ring to face their own fears, their physical fears, and teaching self-defense and all that. And all of the sacred feminine work, all of the time in sister circles, and all of the Course in Miracles forgiveness practice, and the many other things. And all the side journeys, trying to pretend to be a business coach and other things, not pretend, but like trying to avoid what was my real calling, all helped me. All the choices, every one, the ones that I could call mistakes and the ones that I could call good choices, they really all were leading me to be right here, right now, with all of you in sacred service. And so my prayer is always, before I begin, Divine Mother, let me be a conduit through which the highest guidance can come in service to my sisters and or my brothers when I work with sacred brothers. So that's a little bit of me in the nutshell. I hope that gives you insights if you don't know who I am. And again, thank you for those of you who have heard some of this story before, for your patience. So again, an invitation to just take a breath as we return now to some of the overview or frame up of what we're walking through during this time. So whatever your soul's journey has been through this incarnation and others, it is my deepest belief that you decided to come here for this ascension journey. And that if you're here in this gathering, you came with some mad skills that you're remembering. Some of them are online already for you, and some of them are not yet. And I don't mean internet online. I mean, they're activated within you. And so the world was taken by surprise 3 and something years ago, as we got to see and witness the lockstep way in which the entire planet and the leaders of planets are all sort of managing to control the rest of us. And many of us, if not most of us here, have had to do a lot of processing since then. So now we find ourselves at a time where things have shifted and changed, and some things have dropped down and other things are rising. And there's an ascension, there's a quickening happening. This is all part of the ascension. So if we pull back from the on the ground looking at the latest thing to go, the latest what, the latest blah, we see that the world as we have known it is not conducive to a fifth dimensional loving frequency of consciousness. It's just not. The systems are unloving. Those who lead the systems, the rulers at the top, are unloving. And so there has to be a shift. Of course, those who are ruling don't really want to lose their position. So there's a lot unfolding to distract, distress, limit freedom, create divisiveness among the people. And I liken this to, and again, those of you who've heard me talk about this, please, I ask your patience. I liken this to a jar of water with a bunch of dirt at the bottom. Sometimes I say poop. Okay, so the jar, the water, the dirt, if everything's calm and still, the dirt settles down at the bottom and the water looks pretty clear, right? But if you start shaking it, you start shaking the jar, then the waters get cloudy. And if you don't have a lid on the jar and you shake it enough, that dirty water is going to start spewing all over the place. So the amount of light we're receiving from the sun, the Schumann resonance, the earth frequency increases are akin to shaking that jar like crazy. And this, the dirt on the bottom is our shadow material, because we have walked through many incarnations, and this one up until recently, stuffing down the shadow, not really being aware of it at all, our own shadow, our judgments, our self-hatred, our gifts and skills that we've not addressed, all of that. So as this shakeup occurs, those who have done deep shadow work fare better psychospiritually than those who haven't. Why? Because their waters are deeply muddied by their shadow material that's arising and spilling all over the place. And that is ascension madness. So we, as the priestesses, starseeds, light workers, those who are creating the sanctuary within ourselves, those who are committed to peacefulness, to connection with our Creator, to loving the earth and being a loving force and being a blessing, we are the antidote. We are the countermeasure. We are the holders of the field of the ascension and the ascension madness that goes with it. We are here to support our sisters and brothers of earth, even if we don't agree with some of them, even if we know we can't be around some of them. We're supporting by holding the light field and holding steady in times of ascension quickening and ascension madness. And we came for this. We have within us and within this sisterhood everything we need to maintain peacefulness, maybe not 24/7, 365, but to generally be at a frequency that's high enough to hold the light in these times. In other words, to be a sanctuary for our own peacefulness and for others. So this acceleration is likely to continue and to increase. So it behooves and benefits and blesses all of us when we do what we need to do to come back to peacefulness, not by denying or spiritual bypass, but by courageously facing our shadow and courageously and willingly forgive ourselves and each other, and to choose love over and over again. So it's up to us to source the inner tools and outer support we need in order to be a blessing for ourselves and our loved ones in the world. And so this is one of those tools. It's the outer support. It's the container of sisterhood. It's a place of respite. It's a place of sanctuary. It's a place to just be at ease with ourselves and to love ourselves. And we all have other tools too. You know, I have insight tools like tarot and astrology and ceremony, teaching women how to do ceremony and supporting women as they rise into their leadership. You may be a healer of some kind, or you may feel called to like activate your energy healing tools, or to lovingly care for children or animals, or we're all needed. We're all needed. And the sooner we honor our gifts and our impulses and our desires to be in service in the way that is aligned for us, without going into narcissistic codependent relationships, doing it with our own honoring our boundaries, lovingly caring for ourselves first. The sooner we do that, the more able we are to step into our leadership. And leadership doesn't have to be leading a nation. It could be just leading your life with health, health and peacefulness. So, the risk of choosing to live at this time, I want to touch on that now. The risk of choosing to live at this time is that ascension madness. It's a little crazy out there. And again, depending on your life and how much you interface with what we could call the mainstream world or the 3D world, you may be navigating a little bit of stress at times, or you may be navigating a lot of it. The question I invite you to contemplate here is am I getting swept up in what my husband calls the rage du jour, the rage of the day? Because if we look back at the last 3 years, it's one thing after another. And that's probably going to continue for a while. And I don't need to spell out what those are. I bring this up because I feel it's very important for us to recognize the distinction between being in the love field, the energy of love and higher frequency, and the battlefield of planet Earth right now, of egos bumping up against each other in self-righteous indignation and attack and judgment and all that stuff. That being in that field of energy, energetically, emotionally, cannot support peacefulness. Now, some of us have in our lane the requirement to address setting boundaries or issues with regard to the choices we make. So, for example, many people had to choose to walk away from long-standing careers because it was against their values to take the jab. A couple of years ago, a couple of years ago, that was in their lane. They had to make that choice. However, even within that choice, or whatever choices you're facing, whether it's what they're teaching your kids in school or your job or anything else, the energy with which you bring to that choice makes all the difference. You can be raging in the battlefield of anger and judgment and or you could be really saying, how do I come back to peacefulness? What is aligned with my soul's highest guidance? And then making that decision, valuing your own boundaries, valuing your own values, and then from there coming back into the peaceful place. Easy said, not necessarily easy to accomplish. I am referring here to being in the world, but not of it. It's a practice. I haven't mastered it myself, I assure you. But the guidance that comes through me and for me is that this is our graduation test. How can we be loving to our sisters and brothers of Earth, to those people that show up as seeming enemies in our lives, even if they are close loved ones, family members, etc., and love ourselves enough to come back again and again to the peacefulness, again and again to the sanctuary of our own connection with our beloved Mother, Father, God, our connection with Earth, and our connection with our hearts. This is really the journey we are on. And these gatherings of sisterhood, they allow us the respite, the sanctuary to just rest and be held by our sisters and by our brothers sometimes, depending on, where we, who we're connecting with. So let's recognize in the end that this is a play of distraction. All those rages du jour are a play of distraction, and the need is for love energies and healthy, clear, value-aligned boundaries. Love energies and healthy, clear, value-aligned boundaries. This is the sanctuary we are creating for ourselves in our hearts, in our families, in our sisterhoods, our friendships, and in this gathering, these 3 days. So with that, I'm just going to, again, have a peek here and see what's coming up. Yes, I'm resting in the sisterhood. Very true. I needed to hear this today. This is right. The right sentiment was always there. Thank you, sisters, for these beautiful messages.